Here is the trouser that I just finished with, and as you can see, if you pay closer attention, you realize that the back of the trouser does not carry the general back pockets that we all know. This is a little bit different. So in this video, I'll be showing you guys how to construct this, and as you can see, it can contain your hand, it can carry anything, carry your phone, carry everything. So in this video, I will show you guys how to construct that back pocket step by step as always. So here is the trouser that I just finished, and this is the fabric we're going to use. So first and foremost, the reason why I decided to share this video is because the welt pocket that I did on my previous video, and some of my students, and most of them, could not actually get it right. Is either it is slant or it is not straight. They couldn't get a perfect welt pocket. So I decided to find a way to get a simple and easier back pocket for trouser. So try this out and you're going to love it. It's quite simple, easier. It doesn't take all those need for. So let's get straight into the video. So first, I'm going to assume that you already cut out your trouser. So this is the front and this is the it's a doubled. This is the back of the trouser. This is not the front, this is the back. So the very first thing I want you to pay attention to is when you're cutting your trouser, you're going to add an extra 1/2 of an inch for the sewing. For the joining of the pocket side, you're going to add an extra 1/2 of an inch. That is when you're cutting it. So pay attention to what I'm about to do here. So the place in which your pocket is going to be, which is the center line in which your pocket is going to be at, that's the length in which you want your pocket to be. Mostly for adults, it's going to be at 3 inches. You can see. So I'm going to mark it from between that 1/2 of an inch that I measured before. I'm going to mark my 3 inches. You can see that. That's where our pocket is going to be. So I'm going to rule that. So this is what we're going to have. So I'm just going to cut it out. And as you can see, I'm cutting the two together. So after cutting it out, the very first thing I'm going to do is to make a center point on both this one and the back panel itself. I'm just going to make a center point at that side. You can see. So that's where the back pocket is going to be. So on this one, we're going to be cutting a lining, the lining that's going to that we're going to use as the turn up for the inside of the pocket side. So you're going to see what I'm about to do in the sewing aspect. So let's cut our lining. So this is the fabric I'll be using for the lining. This is a suit lining. You can see. So just place your fabric on it. And cut it out exactly the same size. You can see. Just cut out exactly the same size. And as you all know that the back of the trouser, one is usually taller than the other, because remember we're going to add like an 1/2 of an inch to our back. Oh sorry, 1.5 inch to our back. So you're just going to chalk your wrong and your right side. So after that, we're going to get our pocket cover and our pocketing. So after cutting out your lining, as you can see, we cut it in double as before, so it is 2. So the next thing we cut is the pieces of the pocket cover. So I cut this at the pocket itself. The wideness of the pocket is going to be at 6 inches, right? So I cut this at 7 inches. So I'll be having a little 1 inch for the joining of the pocket side, as you can see. So half of an inch will be at each of the sides. So the next thing I'm going to do is to add an interfacing to the face, to the wrong side of the fabric. I'm just going to add an interfacing to one of it, and I'm going to leave the other one just like that. I will add an interfacing to just a single one. You see, we have two here. I'll be adding an interfacing to just one. So on this one, I already add an interfacing. So all you just have to do is just to get your center point, just like you're making a welt pocket as before. You can see, after getting your center points, I'm going to, depending on the wideness of your pockets, this one I told you that the wideness itself is going to be a total of 6, so that your hand, for an adult, so that your hand can go through it. So I'm just going to mark my 6 right here. So here I want you guys to pay attention at this place. At this point, I will be chalking a quarter of an inch. A quarter of an inch. Let me zoom in closer so that you can see very well. Okay. I believe you can see what I'm doing now. Okay. Okay, this is better. So I'll be taking a quarter of an inch at each of the side. Here also I'll be taking a quarter of an inch. You can see. I'm going to mark it. So this is what we're going to stitch, as you see. You can see that center point has to be at that your notch. So let's get straight to the machine. Okay, so right here on the machine, you have to make sure that your center point is actually at the same side. So place your center point right there. Okay. Okay. I just make sure that I come closer so that you can see what I'm about to do very, very well. So I'm going to make my first stitch at that place. And when you're stitching this place, make sure that your hand, like you're not stitching past that first line. That is very, very important. You're not stitching past that line. You can see. My machine is running very, very fast. So I'll still have to like reset it so that the speed will be minimal. So after stitching that place, you're just going to stitch that straight line. You guys have to pay attention to what I'm doing so that you can get exactly the same results. Just follow me step by step as always. You're going to get exactly the same result. So just stitch that place. And you're going to close that other side also. You can see. Okay. Make sure you're not stitching beyond that edge. So you're going to make a notch at that edge. Make sure you are not notching more than that, okay? Just like that, you're going to make a notch. And also at this side, you're going to make your notch. Just right there. can see. So after making your notch, the next thing we are going to do is to stitch. You're going to like top stitch that edge. At that point, you have to run a top stitch, and make sure you are not stitching more than that your first joining. That's your first and that first notch that we make. You can see, make a top stitch at that side. Make sure you are not stitching beyond that your first notch. You can see, just at that point you're going to stop. So you can see what we have so far. So you are going to easily like turn it inside. Are you seeing what we're doing? You see what that place look like? So you're going to do the same thing at the other side. You can see. Make sure you turn it up and it gives you that edgy shape. You can see what I'm talking about. Make sure that edge is popped just like that, because that's where we're going to stitch. And also at this side, just push it out. Make sure that edge is popped. You can see that. So take your time. You can iron it so that it's going to be balanced, and you can see it clearly. You can see. So after you iron it and it's balanced like this, the next thing you're going to do is just to top stitch on that edge, from that edge straight up. I hope you guys are paying attention. Just top stitch it straight. You can see, to that edge, to the other edge, right here. So this is what we're going to have so far. Let me set up this focus so that you guys can see. I'm going to put it at automatic focus so the focus can run itself. Okay, so you can see how smooth that edges are after you run your stitch. You see that? You see that? Exactly, that's the goal. So after we get that, the next thing we're going to do now is to put our pocketing. So our pocketing is, I'm just using a plain pocketing fabric for this. You can see. So I'm going to join it with this side. You can see. I'm joining it inside. So the stitches is going to be inside of the pocket, not outside of the pocket. That's what I want you guys to pay attention to. So I'm going to turn it up and I'm going to make a stitch inside. I'm going to top stitch it again. So the stitch is going to like lay flat. You can see that. You can see that. So after that, the next thing we are going to do is just to turn it over and get our pocket depth. How deep do you want your pocket to be? On this one, I'll be using a total of 7 inches depth. So here my pocketing is actually longer than my intended depth. So I'm just going to like cut it out. I just cut just any length of pocketing, but I cut exactly the same size of my pocket cover that we cut in the previous when we just started cutting. So I'm just going to cut it out. So after cutting it out, I'm going to add our second pocket cover. Don't forget this other one. I'm going to join it. Also on this one, I'm joining it inside. So it won't be showing outside of the pocket. It will be inside of the pocket. You can see. So I'm also going to top stitch this on the fabric again. You can see that. So the next thing we are going to do now is to close the back of the pocket. You can see. I'm going to close the back of the pocket. So here I'll be using a cuff shape. So I'm just going to like turn it. Make sure the pocket side is balanced. You can see what I'm doing. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to cut it round, and after that I'm going to add my trouser bias. You can see that. So after cutting it out, I'm going to add the trouser bias all around the pocket. So you can see our pocket is almost ready. So I'm just going to add my bias just like that. I'm going to stitch it all around. In case you're liking the video so far, make sure you give it a thumbs up and you subscribe if you're yet to subscribe to the channel. So I'm just going to stitch my bias straight and simple. So after stitching that, the next thing we are going to do is to put our So make sure you're getting the right side of the pocket. As you can see, this one is not the right side. You can see. So when I place this one and I put it just like that, you can see that this is exactly the side of the trouser itself. You know, one side has to be longer, taller than the other. So the next thing we're going to do now is to join it to the borders. Just get to your center point, or you can just stitch from the side, and make sure you're not stitching on the pocket itself. So we'll be stitching the ½ inch we added on the when we were cutting the pocket from the beginning. Make sure you're not stitching the pocket itself, so you have to pay good attention. So here, make sure you're not stitching on the pocket itself. As you can see, so I'm just going to start my stitch from here. If you are not sure which side, if you will be stitching on that pocket side, just pull it backward. As you can see what I'm about to do here, just pull it backward. Let me zoom in closer so that you can see. Pull it backward. To make a straight stitch. Make sure your hand is very straight when you're doing this. You can see. You can see our pocket is almost ready. As simple as ABC. You can see that. So the next thing we're going to do is to join our lining. So you can see this can actually contain our hand, and the pocket itself is not that obvious. If you don't pay closer attention, you won't see it. So we're going to join our lining to do the closing of that stitches on that side. You can see that. Just like that. So I'll be stitching the same thing on this other side. You can see what I'm doing. So right here, we already closed that back. So when I turn it to the front, I'm supposed to close that side also, but we are going to make a double stitch at that frontal side. You can see. So I'm going to open it up. I'm just going to split it open. Make sure you're not stitching your lining. You can see that. So I'm going to make my first top stitch, and I'm going to make it 2 stitches at that side, but the first top stitch is going to be very closer to the pocket edge itself. It's going to be at the tip of the pocket edge itself. You can see. You can see that. You can see that. Make sure you're stitching the tip of the pocket edge itself. We're going to make the second. You can see what we have. We're going to make the second stitch. You can see that. See what we have. So now we can simply close that upper side. So we can easily weave it before we can see what we have. Our pocket is right there, right out. So far and so good. So that is how to cut and sew this type of pocket on your trouser, step by step, as always. So just give it a good ironing, make sure it is straight and balanced, and you're going to iron it from behind also, and you can just couple your trouser, and that is all. So here is the finishing part. So this is what it looks like. So if you like this video so far, make sure you give it a thumb up, and make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're yet to subscribe. I feel like this is easier if you master it. It is very fast to make. Actually, if you master it, it's very fast and easy to make. Your trouser in the next like 10 minutes, you're done with your trouser and you're packing it. So that's about it on this video. If you like it, give it a thumb up, subscribe if you're yet to subscribe, and I will see you guys on my next video. Peace and enjoy yourself.